Welcome to Double Fries, No Slaw. It is Sunday evening, so we're back with you guys again a little bit earlier than we normally go, but glad that you guys are hanging out and tuned in with us for another episode. Richie, how you doing, man? Sunday evening. We're 70 days away from football. Dropped an article today talking about our favorite players to wear the number 70 through 79 jerseys. A lot of offensive linemen in there, but how you doing, Richie?
Good, man. Like you said, it's Sunday. Unfortunately, the weekend is almost over, but been nice just hanging out, watching the Travelers. A couple Knowles with some top five finish out in Connecticut, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that a little bit later. I know you'll definitely rub it in some Gator fans' faces on your golf podcast this week. Speaking of being up, yeah, my Lightning are in the Stanley Cup final. We're going downtown Tampa. I don't know if we're going to the game, but we're definitely going down to watch it down there. So excited for that. And so the weekend feels like it just keeps going. I mean, I got to do work tomorrow, but I'm going to watch the Stanley Cup tomorrow. It's not terrible. So Double Fries, No Slaw, brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. You can visit both their locations at 1818 West Tennessee and 2550 North Monroe. Go get your Gut Box Double Fries, No Slaw. Tell them we sent you and get a free drink for the next week. If you upload your posts to social media, you get entered to win a Yeti cooler from Guthrie's. We've had several entries. We've got another week left. We'll run this through 4th of July, which is next Sunday. So you got 1 week left to get entered to win a free Yeti cooler. Go by and continue to get your free drinks on us. You don't even have to like us to go get those free drinks. You can just tell them we sent you, and they'll still give it to you. They don't tell us who all cashes in on them. So Double Fries, No Slaw, brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. Richie, we've got an exciting show tonight. We've got a guest up first. Because this is your lane, because this is basketball, I will pass it off to you. We'll run a little two-man weave here, pun intended, and I'll let you intro here our new guest.
Yeah, really excited to have former Florida State guard David Nichols joining us today. How you doing, David?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. We're so glad you could take some time to spend with us today. We talk a lot about the transfer portal on this podcast just because it seems to be all the rage now. You actually were a graduate transfer to Florida State. You graduated from Albany. What was it about Florida State? Obviously, Coach Hamilton's very attractive when you're looking for a new university, but why Florida State?
It was just kind of the perfect fit, the perfect situation. They were losing a point guard, C.J. Walker, and it's kind of they needed a role that needed to be filled. And I felt like I had done a lot individually in terms of individual stats, accolades, and I just wanted to be a part of a winning program that had a chance to make a run in the NCAA tournament. So it was just all came together and was a perfect fit.
Yeah, and I remember that team. It was so fun to watch you guys because it's obviously, I assume I know the answer to this question, but was it easy to just fit in? Because obviously you're so close with a lot of these guys. You were only at Florida State for 1 year, but that culture, it just seems like a welcoming environment. And did you feel that when you got there? And obviously you're still friends with a lot of the players from your playing days today.
Yeah, it was like just a really natural fit. I mean, starting with Coach Gates, who was the one recruiting me, and being a Chicago guy, and me playing high school basketball in Chicago, and just kind of knowing that scene, and then just having that in common, and then just being on campus, and it just felt like home. Everybody was welcoming, and after the first couple weeks, you would have thought I had been there for all 4 years. That's just how natural of a fit it was.
Yeah, and you talked about that run in March. Started with the ACC tournament. You guys, you had dropped a game to Virginia earlier that year, and then it came back and really beat them. I think you won by 12 points or so, which is almost like beating them by 20 with the style of play Virginia does. And you actually played a big role in that game. I think you had 14 points. Really, helped get Florida State over the top and get to the ACC championship. What was more fun, that game beating the second-ranked Virginia, or when you were at Albany and you scored 40 points in a conference championship game?
Well, it was the playoffs. It was the first round at Albany.
Oh, okay.
But I think the Virginia game was. I mean, they were both fun games. I don't think I can put one over the other. The Albany game had like a lot of meaning behind it. So I mean, that's pretty high up there for me. But beating Virginia was it was satisfying, and then with them going on to win the national championship, like we always have that in our back pocket, just saying like when everybody was healthy and playing, like we took care of the national champions. Like I don't think we gave up a lead like the whole game. Like we led most of the game and we really dominated. And I think that was like us at our full potential.
You were only at FSU for 1 year, and he's been on the show. We've had a good time getting to know, and we really love Coach Hamilton. I just say Coach Gates is kind of who recruited you and got you there, but you came to FSU, and in the midst of, and you know, his kind of legacy is still obviously going, right? But like where he's putting first rounder after first round after first rounder in the league, I mean, Coach Ham is just unreal, right? And a lot of the coaches on FSU's campus right now are just fantastic, right? Like from all the way from the top to the bottom. But man, how special was it to play for Coach Ham and be around him for that year?
It was pretty special. And then you hit on it, like it's from Coach Ham, it's Coach Jones, it's CY. Those guys are just special. Like everybody has their own thing, like their own niche that they strive in and they excel in, and they don't try to step on each other's toes. They just do like what they're great at, and it all comes together, and it's just so cohesive. And it was really fun to be a part of. Coach Ham is just extremely hardworking. I think on my visit, I don't even know if he even slept on my visit. When I was leaving to go back to the hotel, he's watching film from that Michigan game where they lost in the Elite Eight. I don't know. He's probably watched that game 100 times. You got to ask him how many times. But he's just super hardworking. Like I think him and my dad were just watching games until like 5 a.m. on my visit, and it's just crazy to see that work ethic from a guy who's he's at the top of the sport in the ACC and the coaching ranks, and he just keeps working harder and harder. It's just amazing to see.
Sure.
Yeah, and obviously in the ACC, you go to a lot of tough venues, whether it's, Durham or Chapel Hill, whatever it may be. But the best home court advantage in college right now has to be in Tallahassee at the TLC. You guys were a part of that, really turning things around. I remember I was in school from 2006 to 2010, and, we'd get 8,000 fans for conference games, but you guys would sell it out regularly. How cool was it to see the home atmosphere grow to what it was, to where it still is today, where they just don't lose at home?
I mean, it was really cool. I mean, and like you said, I feel like it has to be the biggest home court advantage. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, best home record at the longest win streak at a conference and in conference. So like every time they put out a list of best home court advantages, Florida State's never on it. So it's just kind of confusing. It's like, are you basing it off of ideas or actually looking at numbers? It's like CY says, don't get emotional. Just read the data. Like if you just look at the numbers, it's easily the toughest place to play in college basketball right now.
You just the other, like the Dukes and them, like they don't like when, like, they're not at the tops of those lists. Duke and Kansas and all, like losing like 20 games a year, but they don't like when they're not at the top of the home court advantage list, right?
Just look at the numbers. Like, I mean,
right.
That's simple to me. Like, I won't argue with you if you can find a better winning percentage, but if you can't, then you just got to give it to them. And I mean, that's just the end of it.
Well, it's cool that, you guys are starting to get that respect. Florida State with that home court is getting that respect now on a national landscape. I remember watching the Louisville game when Trent Forrest just posterized Jordan Nora. Jay Billis is even calling the game. He's like, this is the best atmosphere we've seen at a college basketball game this year, which is pretty cool coming from a Duke guy at that. But yeah, man. One of your teammates at Florida State, Terrence Mann, really came out of nowhere. Obviously a second-round draft pick. It was in the rotation a little bit, but in the playoffs, especially with Kawhi out, you've been able to go out and check him out a few times. And just how cool is it to see him, just settling into his role and really making himself known as a legitimate NBA player?
I mean, it's been fun. It's been really, really fun to watch. Just a guy who's your teammate, close friend, just kind of like finding his own and just finally like getting the recognition that, he worked so hard for, and just like solidifying himself as a solid NBA player. And then he's just another guy. If you just look at the numbers, you look at his plus minus numbers, the Clippers have been better all playoffs all year when he's on the court. So it's just really fun to see, and like I'm enjoying his success as much as him. I mean, that's just kind of the Florida State culture, guys getting more excited for their teammates than their teammates are for themselves. So I mean, it's just that just carries over into everything, even after Florida State.
Yeah, and one thing I've seen him wearing that I was telling you I need to get me a shirt or hoodie is these Big Guard U hoodies and shirts. I love it. And you have a lot of people talk about Big Guard U now in reference to Florida State. Just how cool is it that Florida State's kind of between New Bloods and Big Guard U, and then just what was the idea to just start the brand and help spread the word because it's some good looking merch.
Appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of had the idea, and then also using it as a way to just stay in touch with the guys at the university and then the guys after, because being overseas for 2 years now, there's a lot of former Florida State players overseas, and so just using this as a way to just stay in touch with all those guys and just kind of like showcase what they're doing. It just seemed like a good idea to me, and I mean, I have the resources, the networks, the connections to be able to do that, and figure out where guys are playing, and just like say, look, we got guys in the NBA, but we also have like 15, 20 guys overseas also playing at an extremely high level. Even the older guys are still playing at high levels overseas, like the Tony Douglases, the Chris Singletons, the Al Thorntons. They're still playing, they're still producing, they're still representing Florida State. So just using BGU as a kind of like a alumni network for basketball players, and then just hoping to like really expand that to even showcase the guys doing their thing off the court, like Devin Booker, who played a couple years before me. Like I've been in contact with him. He's doing a YouTube, the gaming thing right now. He's doing the training. Like Phil Kofer has his own like whole little like his fashion thing going. His YouTube is growing. He's almost at 10,000 subscribers on that. So just kind of showcasing just the on court and off the court things that our guys are continuing to do, and just kind of showcasing that outside of the NBA guys, but also having them involved too, because I mean we're all a family, and we all support each other in a lot of different ways. But those guys, they're gonna get their shine no matter what. So just kind of showcasing the other guys as well.
I will cut you off there because I'm impatient, but you got you started talking about Douglas and Thornton. I just want to let you know I was the biggest Al Thornton fan. Like Richie's like the basketball guy on here, but I was the biggest Al Thornton fan. He even went to the Clippers. I'm a Lakers fan, so it's like a double-edged sword, like trying to like I don't want the Clippers to do well, but then I'm like cheering for Man to hit every shot that he takes. But I'm like, all right, but you can score 40, but I don't want y'all to win. Like go to 7 games or something, like because like I don't need the Clippers banner hanging in that thing. I mean, but if Man gets like an MVP or something, it's cool. But yeah, even when Thornton was there, I was like, oh yeah, I'll buy a Thornton jersey. Like even a Clippers one. Like I was the biggest Al Thornton stan that there ever was. So I'm glad that you brought him up. I'm glad that he's involved with it because that's super dope. Blast from the past, man. I feel really old. Richie, I know you had the next one.
Yeah, well, where can people buy this merch? I was checking out your website earlier, and I saw you talked about international players. Everyone remembers David Stolkes, the Carolina killer from his days at Florida State when he would just go off on the Tar Heels. But where can the listeners go buy some Big Guard U merch?
It's at bigguarduniversity.com all together. The link is in the Twitter. The Twitter's actually it's catching on a little bit, almost at 800 followers. So I mean, if you follow on that at the official Big Guard University, the link's in that bio. But bigguarduniversity.com, that's where you can get shirts, hats, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so anyone listening, we'll definitely tweet that link out, and the Big Guard U, so definitely go give that a follow as well. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, no, we will. That's awesome. Hey, I know you were only there for a year. We talked about this a little bit before, but I mean, you were a Guthrie's fan, right? Like you would get your gut boxes with no coleslaw, right? Like when you were in Tallahassee, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I went one time, but of course, I had to get the double fries. I knew to do that. So I mean, I had it one time. You got to try out everything at least once when you're down there. So
sure.
I think the guys are all. I think we're all gonna go back at some point. Dwayne Bacon hit up everybody and was just trying to get everybody together. So I mean, coming soon, maybe later this month or next month, you might see like 20 former players on campus at the same time. So we're trying to set that up right now. And so, I mean, if you follow Big R University, you'll see a lot of probably cool stuff I'll try to get done down there. Maybe some interviews or something. But, I mean, we're planning it right now. Hopefully everything works out once all the overseas guys get back and get settled. So that's something to look forward to.
That's cool, yeah.
Basketball fans.
Yeah, for sure. If there's anything we can do to help with that, like to promote it, to talk about anything you guys are doing, I mean, we're happy to, and to try to spread the word and get it out there for sure. We'll definitely tweet out the link and the Twitter to get people aware of it, familiar with it, bigguarduniversity.com, and people can check it out there. David, man, we appreciate you so much for taking a few minutes. I know you gotta run to a workout here in a few, so we don't want to hold you up, don't want to let you go. But man, best of luck going forward. We can't say thank you enough for taking your time and chatting with us a little bit tonight. And hopefully one of these times we'll get up and we'll meet up in Tallahassee soon. But we really appreciate it, man.
For sure, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, David.
David Nichols, former FSU guard and star. I mean, that team was fun. We talked about this a little bit off air, Richie. That team, they had gone to the Elite Eight the year before, lower expectations that next year, beat Virginia pretty good in the ACC, and then just couldn't, everybody got hurt, right? That was the year that literally everybody was hurt.
Yeah, and Trent Forrest was playing on basically 1 foot. But that was a fun season. That was the year that everybody and their mother was picking Murray State to knock out Florida State in the second round with Ja Morant there, and Florida State just destroyed them that day.
Yeah,
fun team to watch. All these teams have been a lot of fun to watch, really, since going back to the mid 2010s.
It's like the lower the expectations are, the more that Hamilton and the gang like kind of surprise you and make you like regret having low expectations. We zoom in on our faces here. So yeah, no, I mean, he was great. Go check out again, Big Guard University. A couple of people put that, actually not a couple of people, just Guy here threw that in the chat. So go check them out and support there. Quick show tonight. We've got his interview and then a couple other things to get to, and we'll get you guys out of here. We appreciate you hanging out with us on your Sunday evening. Or if you're checking this out in podcast form or wherever, watching the replay, that's appreciated as well. Richie, let's talk about a little bit of golf news first. What I know you're probably are you still watching it? Has somebody won? What's going on over here?
Yeah, the Travelers are in a playoff right now, so I think they're going to the third playoff hole. So just keeping an eye on the background. But the shot of the tournament though happened on Friday, when Brooks Koepka's 159 yards out from the pin, just hits an absolutely beautiful shot, draws it in there, spins it back into the hole. Twitter was nuts for a couple hours after that. He almost hit it again a few holes down the line, but goes 5 under today. Another top 5 finish for Koepka, and it's especially a week after a major when he traditionally does not play well. That's pretty cool to see. Shout out John Pock. He made a start this weekend. He did not make the cut, but had a really nice start to the tournament on Thursday. Friday fell off a little bit. And he's going to learn to be a pro, and I have no doubt he'll be making plenty of cuts in his time. And then we talked about this too. Another Noel was in the top 5, TJ.
Hank, I mean, you're the golf guy here, so I don't know if I'm saying this correctly or not, but Hank Laboda? Hank Laboda. Let's go with it. Yeah. Finished tied with Brooks. So, finished 5th with the 5th best score on the day or on the weekend, 10 under par. For those that don't know, Hank won both the ACC Freshman of the Year and ACC Player of the Year in his career. So became only the third Seminole to do that, joining Brooks and Bobby Cochran. So Hank had a great tournament as well. I saw FSU. I wasn't watching. This is golf is your thing, but FSU Golf tweeted out that he led at one point. Like he had the lead at the Travelers today. He finished early in the day, so a couple of people had really great rounds and came back and finished ahead of him. But finished 3 shots off the lead at the Travelers. So shout out to our Noles that competed this weekend.
Yeah, we talked about it with John Pock, last week, how, part of the reason he came to Florida State is because Trey Jones just does a great job of developing and getting guys on the tour. And here you go, 2 top 5s. Not too shabby for a weekend for him.
Yeah, no, definitely a great weekend there. All right, so there is golf. Okay, let's talk about this. This is just more going to be our opinion. This has nothing to do with Florida State, but Hunter faithfully tunes in every week, and so we appreciate it. But how about this NC State fiasco that went down at the College World Series? For everybody watching this or listening to this knows, but do you want to catch people up if they're not completely familiar with the high overview of what's going on here?
Yeah, so NC State, they had beat Vanderbilt once, really impressive win, and they were looking to try and get to the final. They had some COVID issues. I believe they only had 14 players available for their game on Friday. And then on Saturday, it was going to be an elimination game. And the NCAA said, we're going to call it a no contest due to COVID protocol from the NC State players. I believe all the players who tested positive have been vaccinated, so I'm not sure why we're even testing them. But yeah, so they basically said your season's over. And, we've seen the NCAA make terrible decisions like this recently with the women's golf tournament, where they basically said you could play the course, but it's not at a championship level. So all the higher seeds advance, everybody else go home. They just can't seem to get out of their own way. I don't know why you can have 22,000 maskless fans at a game. But NC State has vaccinated players that are tested for positive for COVID that couldn't play. So just really unfortunate. I don't know. I'm assuming you're going to tend to agree with me on this one here.
Yeah, I don't want to get canceled here because I feel like anytime you have a strong opinion on anything, you get canceled. So, I think it's a little bit ridiculous. We're at a point now where everyone, we've got, what'd you say, 20-something thousand person stadium that nobody, you don't have to be vaccinated to get in, maskless, whatever. Like, the vaccine exists and is out there. And Richie, you work in a hospital. I'd love to know if you could figure these stats out. What are the stats on people that have not gotten the vaccine because they just can't, right? Like, what I want to know what that percentage is in our country. Like, right? It's got to be like less than 1/10%. And if that be like can't for a number of reasons, right? Like medically able, maybe they're taking some kind of treatment that they couldn't do it. They couldn't, financially able is not a thing. So like, timing, I don't know what any other reason would be. Uber is like literally offering free rides to go get vaccines. Vaccines don't cost anything. I really just can't imagine there are situations where people legitimately can't. Now, I understand that I'm maybe missing something or forgetting something, but we're at a point now where, again, we've got a 20,000 person stadium, not checking vaccines, not checking masks, anything like that. It's wild to me to think that, vaccinated players who weren't necessarily showing symptoms, we canceled a tournament over this. That's, or not a tournament, but a team season. And I don't know. It's just, it is, I know that it's, we're a year and a half into the pandemic, but with the strides we made, the progress we made, when are we going to stop canceling events and happenings because of COVID, right? Like, at this point, the vaccine's there, and everybody that wants to get the vaccine, again, unless medically unable, has the opportunity or the option to get it. And those that have gotten it, great. Those that don't want to get it, great. That's your freedom. That's your right as an American. Great. Now let's move on. Let's move on and go. And so, yeah, it's frustrating that, vaccinated players who tested positive, you can get the flu vaccine and test positive for it. It just symptoms aren't as bad, right? So it doesn't impact you the same way. You don't get as sick. It's frustrating to see that a tournament or a team, again, was their season was canceled in this way, in this scenario, in this situation. I just couldn't imagine, and that's the way I look at it. Is like, if this would have happened with Alabama in the college football playoff, there's no way the NCAA would have canceled their season. There's no way that Alabama would have been going up against Clemson and they just said, Clemson moves on, Alabama's out. And that's frustrating, right? Like we talked about the disparity between men's and women's sports, and how they made our girls play at midnight, and they had never done this to Vandy or just one of these baseball teams. And so is that same disparity. And so I'm not an NC State fan. I really don't care one way or the other, but it is frustrating to see the NCAA make another absolutely incompetent decision and screw the kids over. That's frustrating. I mean, I couldn't imagine if I was an NC State fan or player or parent or, somebody that went
for all the conspiracy theorists out there, this is something that, Hunter, who listens to the show, sent to us in a group chat, highlights the decision was made based on the recommendation of the championship medical team and the Douglas County Health Department, the NCAA said in a statement. Douglas County Health Department spokesman Phil Rooney said the health department did not recommend NC State's removal, but told the NCAA the department would support whatever decision they made. Someone on this committee, Dr. William Schaffner from Vanderbilt University. So if you're into conspiracy theories, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to get as far into the conspiracy stuff. I mean, I know there's the picture of Fauci right now out with the Vandy jersey on and stuff. So, I mean, whatever. I just think it's incompetence by the NCAA. I mean, we're also seeing issues, and we'll talk about this on another episode. We're also seeing issues with the NCAA dragging their feet on this NIL stuff and not having it all ready to go by July 1st, which is in 4 days or 5 days, I guess. So more incompetence by the NCAA. Again, if this would have been Alabama football in the playoff, they'd have delayed it and they'd have let them play. They'd have delayed it by a week and let them play. There's no way they'd have applied that same standard, especially with the county saying, no, it's fine for them to play. We don't recommend removing them. And the NCAA saying, no, we're just going to remove them. It's just easier if we just remove them and move on. Well, and then the NCAA did the same reason our girls had to play at midnight the one night is because it's all about TV ratings, right? Yeah. It's if you delay this and let the guys get healthy, then you're running your TV ratings up against the NBA finals. And we don't want to do that. And so we're not going to do that. We need this to be over while those conference finals are going on. We need this championship series to be over this week whenever they play, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the 3-game series. We need it to be over this week because we don't want to go up against the NBA finals. And that's the same reason they didn't want the softball to be going up against the Game 7 playoffs. And that's why the Game 3 of the softball started at 3 p.m., And so it's all about TV ratings. It's all about that kind of stuff with the NCAA and the money that's generated. And so it's just easier to just say, NC State was – they're a casualty, so let them go. Again, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense why you would cancel a team season when a bunch of vaccinated players are out there. I mean, people are going to get this and continue to get this, just like people continue to get other diseases that vaccines exist for. And sicknesses and illnesses. So
you just really have to feel for their seniors, especially the ones that came back after their season was cut short last year because of the virus. Yeah. Then to have it end abruptly like this. And here's where the NCAA really messed up, in my opinion, is dumping the news at 2 a.m. Right? They didn't want to deal with the backlash. So there's a lot of NC State players and coaches and fans that all woke up to the news that their season's over. And they found out because the NCAA are cowards and thought a 2 a.m. news dump was the best way to handle that.
Yeah, that's pretty outrageous and spineless. Yeah, and we'll stop whining about the NCAA here in just a minute. But yeah, that's incredible. Did you see afterwards? Like NCAA baseball, the official account, like, thanks for the memories, NC State, like attached. I put this is like when OJ went to Nichols' wedding and cried. It's like you're the one that killed it. Like what are you doing? So, so frustrating. Hunter's he hasn't commented one time since we brought this up, so he's probably like crying on his phone, and like the keyboard doesn't work because the water on it. But yeah, frustrating for that team, for those players. Yeah, that really sucks. That was brutal. So we wanted to whine about that, and then we'll move on. Hey, I want to shout out the website one more time. We've done this a couple of times, but doublefriesnoslaw.com. We had a piece today drop with our favorite players that wore number 70. Richie, do you have your notes up in front of you, or have that article up? I can read what you wrote real quick. I'll highlight yours and mine, and then you guys got to go check out the article to read everybody else's. But
yeah, I don't have it pulled up. I remember with Menelik Watson. How do you not like a guy with his story?
What if I told you that FSU could bring in a 6'6", 320-pound offensive tackle from the JUCO ranks this year? Now, what if I told you he has a background in soccer, basketball, runs a sub 540, and trained as a boxer with Robert Alcazar? Is that right? I don't know. Who formerly trained Oscar De La Hoya. That's exactly what Jimbo Fisher brought in prior to the 2012 season in Menelik Watson. He would go on to start 12 of the Tribe's 13 games, allowing just one quarterback sack on the season. That was, again, the 2012 season, the NC State season. So that's the only way I can remember that.
Yeah.
The year prior to Jameis, EJ's senior year. Well, he only played at FSU one season. Watson's story will always be one of my favorites due to a combination of how he ended up at FSU, instantly found success on the field, and ended up as a second-round draft pick by the Oakland Raiders in 2013 before enjoying 5 seasons in the NFL. Some other names really quickly. We did Josue Matias, Trey Thomas, Ken Lanier, Brian, the old man, did that one. Dustin did Cam Irving. Ed did Roderick Johnson. And then I did the Hall of Famer Walter Jones. Hard to do this article and not include FSU's only offensive lineman to be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. He played 1 season, starting 11 games, and only allowing 1 sack in the NFL. He played 13 years with the Seahawks after being drafted 6th overall. Imagine that, Richie, 6th overall for an offensive lineman. Like, that's so unheard of. Like, that's so ridiculous now. 9-time Pro Bowler and 4-time All-Pro first teamer. Jones was selected to the NFL Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility, cementing his legacy in football history forever. We do these articles on every 10 days. So another one is coming out 10 days from today. Counting down our favorite players to wear that set of 10s jersey number, right? So 70 days today. We did everything from the 70s, all offensive linemen. Next week's going to be the 60s. That's going to be just as tough. Like the offensive lineman portions are tough, but 50 doesn't get much better. 50 has some linebackers, but like 40 is when we'll start having, the video clips are hard to find for offensive linemen. Like when I'm trying to put these things together, it's easy when you're in the 90s and you got a bunch of wide receivers and 80s and stuff like that. It's tough to find much stuff from Menelik Watson. So go check out the website. We've got a new series starting this week, breaking down positions. Dustin and Michael are working on those, breaking down position by position. This week starts with quarterback. We're going to go all the way down the roster, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, and then all the defensive and special teams positions. Do one a week up until kickoff. We have, I'm telling you, the most important game of the year, the team-by-team previews that we've been doing. Ed has done both Notre Dame and Jacksonville State. And that most important game of the year to me is Wake Forest in week 3. Probably going to go into that game 1-1. Obviously, there's an outside chance that we could go in at 2-0. Obviously, a very, the other side of that, I don't know what to talk about. But that Wake Forest game is going to be so important for FSU's season. So check out Ed Kennedy's article. It'll drop Tuesday morning, a season opponent preview of Wake Forest. Dustin's been doing our Knowles and the Pros. That drops Monday morning. So check out how Buster and Kevin Cash and Taylor Walls and all those guys are doing. Check out the website, www.doublefriesnoslaw.com. Richie, a little bit of recruiting news, and then let's get out of here.
Yeah, so there's a busy weekend in Tallahassee, and I know you're going to do something tomorrow to kind of go into detail with it. But Florida State picked up 4 commits, all in the trenches. So that's a big weekend for the big men coming into Florida State. They got 4-star defensive lineman Trevion Williams. They have Lee County's 4-star offensive lineman Quayshawn Sapp, which was a big one. He actually said he had been committed silently for the past 3 months and just felt it was time to do it. Kanaya Charlton, 3-star offensive lineman, and Bishop Moore here in Orlando, a 3-star defensive lineman, Bishop Thomas, who goes to Bishop Moore. So a really successful recruiting week, a really successful recruiting month, really, for Mike Norvell, who just had campers coming through campus all month long. He was doing satellite camps. He's starting to put these deposits down, and it looks like it's going to pay off because Florida State now has the number 5 class in the country, according to the 247 composite. Definitely getting 4 kids in one weekend, including a couple 4-stars, will help boost that ranking, though.
Yeah, and it's it's about getting them to sign in December or January or early February. Sorry, so it's about getting them to sign without a doubt. But you got to start somewhere, right? Like I'm not going to celebrate recruiting wins like it's the end of recruiting wins in January, like it's the end all be all. And I know we don't dive super deep into recruiting on this show, but I'd rather be the 5th ranked class right now than the 55th, right? Like on the load more page, like Miami is. Now, Miami may end up with a better class than us. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to look this year. I don't know how they're going to look this year. So I think that, you're looking at a team that came off a 3-6 season, a new coach that just coached through a pandemic, and he is doing the right things now. It's got to translate to the field, and we've got to win some games. We've got to keep the relationship strong, and we're going to have to fight off some other teams for some of these guys, right? Some other really good teams for some of these guys. But I mean, I like where we're at now. Things may change when December gets here. I'm not going to get on here and lie and say that we're going to finish with the top 5 class or whatever. But I like where we're at now. I like that coach is getting a lot of people on campus. When you're coming off a 3-6 season, you need to build some momentum, right? And you need to figure out something. And if you can sell when you're not winning, great. Let's see you win, and then you can sell even better, right? So I'm with it. I think that the team, the staff is absolutely working their tails off, and I'm excited for it. You mentioned that tomorrow we are going to go live at noon Eastern with 24/7's Brendan Sonnone to chat about the weekend. He was up there all weekend. He's about on empty. He told me his tank was exhausted this weekend. He couldn't make it tonight. So we're going to go live with him, maybe like 20, 25 minutes at noon Eastern tomorrow. We're going to have a live episode with Brendan Sonnone. If you have recruiting questions, if you have things you want to know about the camp, feel free to stop by Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever. Put your questions in the chat. We're happy to ask Brendan live on the air, and we'll get those answered for you. But we are going to talk recruiting with him, go way more in depth. Noon Eastern. We'll do it at noon, and then maybe we'll do a replay of it at 7 p.m. Right? I'll have Harlan if he's back and available. I'll have Harlan throw up a replay of it so that people can see that. It won't be live at 7 p.m. So if you want to get your questions in, go hit up our Facebook, Double Fries No Slaw Facebook, and you can ask us questions when that goes live at noon tomorrow. Again, we'll replay it tomorrow evening for those that couldn't catch it at lunchtime. That was recruiting. You got anything else on the recruiting weekend? We talked golf. We talked to NC State baseball. We talked recruiting. Obviously, chatted with David a little bit. Anything else going on? Oh, we didn't talk about this because it came out like right after. But Sydney Sherrill coming back next year. That Brian threw together a graphic on that, and that absolutely blew up on Facebook and Twitter and everything else. Had like 100,000 views. That was cool. But Sydney Sherrill coming back. I'm telling you, man, I fell in love with softball again this year. Like, they brought me back to like 2018 and everything else. So excited for them to take the field here. Maybe I can get you over to Clearwater if I buy you a beer or two when they have their kickoff tournament here in Clearwater. It's a lot of fun. But anything else from you before we get out of here?
No, I think that's about it. I'm telling you, I've been watching this playoff from this Travelers tournament. The playoff had just started when we got on, and they're still going to a fifth hole. Fifth hole playoff. So we got Harris English and Kramer Hickok. They're playing the 17th par 4 right now, so who knows? It may go a little longer. But yeah, that really appreciate David taking some time to talk to us, reminisce about Florida State and his playing days. BigGuardUniversity.com. Definitely go get a hoodie or a t-shirt. Really nice of David to spend some time with us today.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. So Double Fries No Slaw. I got a shout out Ed Kennedy. I saw he was celebrating a 10th anniversary. Shout out Harlan. I know he's had a rough few weeks just with a bunch of stuff going on, and so he wasn't with us tonight. But Harlan, you're on our thoughts, and we will most likely see you back tomorrow night for the Brendan thing. But if not, we'll see you next week. Any shout outs other than David for you before we go?
No, I think that's about it. Shout out Hunter being on the show here. I feel like he's our third host that just is always here for us. Old faithful.
Well, he didn't have any baseball to watch tonight, so I mean, all right, too soon. I'm sorry, Hunter.
Yeah, one more real quick. This morning I did a podcast that's called The College Experience. It's part of the Sports Gambling Network, Sports Gambling Podcast Network. They are doing a preview for all 130 teams. So I joined them to talk Florida State. So hopefully that preview will come out in the next week or so, and I'll make sure we share it so y'all can check that out as well. And he did pick Florida State to go over 5.5. So that was nice to hear a national guy with no real interest in the emotional ties to Florida State, just calling it like he sees it. So it's a good show. We talk about the season, the schedule. So definitely check that out.
Awesome. Can't wait for that. We'll definitely share it when it comes out. Man, it'll take a sweep, but hopefully we're Stanley Cup champions by the time we get back on here again, repeating this thing. So go Bolts. Again, go to Guthrie's and get a gut box, tag us in it, get in there to win a Yeti cooler. Until we see you guys again next week. Go Knowles.